Hello and welcome to our 9th session, and in this session we will deal with one more bonus challenge wherein we are going to convert this drive simulator into a multiplayer game, so that one player is going to play with the arrow keys and the other person is going to play with WASD keys, and the screen will be split into vertically into two pieces, and there will be two cars, and one car will be controlled by up, down, left and right keys, and another car will be controlled by WASD keys. This is like a offline multiplayer game. If you have not completed the previous session project and are directly starting with this lesson, then the project files or the old session project are available to you in our Patreon page. If you come into YouTube description or in the e-learning description, you have this Patreon page link, and if you scroll down, you have here 8 drive simulator multiplayer start.zip file. This is about 1 GB. You can click on this link, download it, unzip it and load it into Unity Hub. To start our project, I will first launch Unity Hub and I am going to launch drive simulator. The project opens with the drive simulator switch camera scene, which we had completed in our previous session. I am going to save this as a separate scene and start working on that. So for that, I will come into file, save as, and in Unity project drive simulator assets, I will come into scenes folder and I am going to call this as drive underscore simulator underscore multiplayer, and I am going to click on the save button. Before we start building this multiplayer setup, we have to configure our input system in such a way that one player can use the WASD key and the another player can use the top, down, left, right arrow keys. I will come into edit project setting. I will come into the input manager and open this axis. In axis, you have horizontal and vertical, and for horizontal movement we use either left, right key or A and D key. And for vertical movement, we either use up and down arrow keys or S and W key. I have to separate these two. So for that, I will select this horizontal, right click and choose duplicate array element. You got one more horizontal here. I will select this, and in the name, I am going to call this as horizontal 1. And in this case, instead of left and right, I am going to give the key as A and D. And for alternative negative and positive button, I will keep it empty. I am going to now close this horizontal one. Now again I will come into horizontal, right click and choose duplicate array element. I will close this, and for the duplicated one, I am going to call this as horizontal 2, and in this case I will leave the left and right arrow keys as it is. But in alt negative and positive button, I will delete A and D key. So I will close this. So now we have horizontal 1 with A and D keys, horizontal 2 with left and right keys. Similarly, I will come to vertical here, right click, and I am going to duplicate this array element. Select the duplicated one, and I am going to call it as vertical 1, and in this case I am going to set the negative button to S, positive button to W, and for alternate negative button I will keep it blank, alternate positive button I will keep it blank, and I will close. Then again I will come on this vertical selection, right click and choose duplicate array element. And this time the duplicated one, I am going to call this as vertical 2. I am going to now leave down and up as it is, and for alternative negative button I will keep it empty, alternative positive button I will keep it empty. So we created vertical 1 system with S and W key and vertical 2 system with up and down key. And now I am going to close my project setting window. The next change that we have to make is in the script. Now coming into the project panel, the script that we are going to modify for this multiplayer game is the player controller. I will select player controller and double click to open it. I am first going to declare a variable which is going to define who is player 1 and who is player 2. After this public key code switch key, I will press enter, and with 2 forward slashes I am going to enter the comment variable to store the player ID and I will press enter public, and this time the type of variable that we are going to declare is a string because this is a character. We are not going to call 1 and 2 as a number, but we are going to take it as a character. So I will call this as string and I am going to give it the name as input ID and I will end it with semicolon. So I have just declared one variable input ID and the type of this variable is a string. I am going to use this in our input get action because this is where we are going to pick up what keys the users are pressing. If the left user is pressing, then for this horizontal I have to add, I will type plus and I am going to call this variable input ID. And similarly, when vertical key is pressed, the vertical input, I will make it equal to input get access vertical plus input ID. So I have just declared one string input ID and I have added that input ID to this horizontal and vertical axis. If the player is 1, you are going to get horizontal 1, vertical 1. If the player is 2, you will get horizontal 2 and vertical 2. I am going to go to file and save this. I will come back to Unity and allow the script to get compiled. Now coming into the hierarchy, we had vehicle which represents player 1. So I will select vehicle and I am now going to press F2 and I am going to call this as player 1. Now with player 1 selected, I will press Ctrl D and duplicate it, press F2 and I am going to call this as player 2. So I created 2 players. Similarly now I have the main camera. I will press F2 and I am going to call this as main 1 cam. With this selected, I will press Ctrl D and press F2 and I am going to call the second one as main 2 cam. So I created 2 cameras, 2 players, and similarly even this hood camera, I will select it, press F2 and I will call this as hood 1 cam. With this selected, I will press Ctrl D, press F2 and I am going to call this as hood 2 cam. So I have 2 players, 2 main cameras and 2 hood cameras. Now I will come into the main 1 cam. Here in the camera setting, if you come, you have one port called as output, and if I open this, you have viewport rectangle. And for main 1 cam, I will set the width value to 0.5. I am seeing only half of the screen. Now for the main 2 cam, I am going to start this along the X by 0.5 and I will set the width to 0.5. I will next come into this hood 1 cam and even here I will set the width to 0.5. Then immediately, since we are in hood cam, you can see how this got split. Then I will come to hood 2 cam and I will set the X value to 0.5 and width also I will set it to 0.5. Now you can see how the screen is divided. If I play the game and check it, you will get one error here saying that there are 2 audio listeners in the scene. So I will stop the playback, and this is because we had removed the audio listener in hood 1 cam and hood 2 cam in our previous session. But in main 1 cam we had the audio listener, and when we duplicated it, we have an audio listener added to main 2 cam. So I will select main 2 cam, and in this I will come on the right 3 dots, click on it and I will choose remove component. Now I will go to file and save this. Now I will select the player 1 game object. Coming into the inspector in the player controller, see it is attached with main 1 cam and hood 1 cam. This is fine and the switch key is set to F. For player 2, I want this to be set to main 2 cam and the hood camera will be hood 2 cam, and the switch key, instead of F, I will click here and I will just scroll down and choose right shift. I will set it to right shift And one most important thing that we have to set here is for player 1, we have a new input field called input ID, and I will set for player 1 this to 1, and for player 2 I will set this to 2. I will select player 1 and I will set its x value to -3, and I will select player 2 and I will set its x value to 3. I will come into the main 1 cam, and you can see the main 1 cam is set to player 1. But if I select the main 2 cam, it is also set to player 1, but for main 2 cam, I will drag player 2 here. Now similarly, I will select hood 1 cam, it is set to player 1, but if I select the hood 2 cam, I am going to set this to player 2. Now for the better view in the scene view, I will switch off this camera overlay. I will right click and come into the top view, and I will just roll out, and I am just going to have a full view of this scene so that I can have a better look of this. If I play the game and check the game, see W is moving the left one and arrow mark is moving the right one. One of the car crashed, so I will stop the playback and I will play again. So when I am playing, so the arrow mark will move here, so I can turn and I can move around. So you can see how my two cars are moving. One is moving with the right arrow and the another is moving with the W key. A will turn one of the car to the left and right arrow will turn the other car to the right. So with this, we have successfully created this multi-camera game. I will stop the playback. So we have successfully completed this bonus challenge, and with this we will come to the end of this session, and in the next session we are going to discuss about the project management in gaming.